Are you the famous photographer? Are you here for a shoot today? The woman in front of me is staring at me excitedly. It seems she knows that I am a photographer. We met at the beach. Despite playing in the sand with her family of 3, she seems very interested in what I have to say. It's nostalgic to think about my early days as a photographer when people didn't believe me, and I hardly got any interviews. When I told her that I was here for a photo shoot, she offered to be the subject without hiding her excitement. "But can you make sure not to show my child's face?" she said, pointing at a cute little girl. A girl of about 2 or 3 years old is looking at us with her round eyes. "Of course. What about the father?" When I asked, the father looked pale, darting his eyes around, and gave a non-committal answer. I guess it can't be helped. After all, the father, who is building a sandcastle with the girl, is my husband. My name is Monica. I am a 30-year-old freelance photographer. I often get called for school events and weddings in the neighborhood. I capture moments filled with smiles and friendship and convey them through my photos. It's not just about taking pictures, it's about sharing happiness by shaping memories and emotions. Capturing various moments of joy is my job and my passion. But there was an event that suddenly stopped the shudder of my life. My husband, Alex, was a busy businessman. He was involved in the development of leisure facilities and tourist spots and traveled all over the country. We couldn't spend much time together because of our busy schedules, but the time we did spend together was special. Even if it was just a little time, being with him and seeing his smile supported me. I had no intention of quitting my photography job. We promised to support each other's careers while getting married. Taking that as a cue, I started looking for ways to work from home even for photography. First, I posted landscape photos and portraits of people who gave permission on social media as a portfolio. By showcasing my work in virtual galleries like online photo exhibitions, not only publishers and peers in the photography industry but also general users widely interfered, which worked well, and my followers increased rapidly. Since live streaming was possible on social media, I started doing talk shows and explanations about the photos I took and started making money. I share the stories and techniques behind the photos while sharing the photos I took. Communicating through photos is fun and rewarding. I was as active in public relations on social media as I was in going out and taking pictures, and my follower count increased steadily. Alex was still on business trips, so I spent more time with my in-laws, but fortunately, they were interested in my social media activities. I became closer to them by teaching them how to use smartphones and social media, and they often come to see my photos and live broadcasts. Both are very nice people, and even when my husband is on a business trip, I don't feel lonely and spend fulfilling days. However, there was a significant void in our lives. That is, we didn't have children. We took tests many times, but we couldn't have children. Both of us wanted children, so the fact that we couldn't have children for several years after marriage cast a subtle shadow over our relationship. At first, my husband was encouraging and cooperative, but he got tired of the economic burden and the time-consuming hospital visits, and I could see that the distance between our hearts was gradually increasing. It didn't help that the project he was working on was reaching its climax, and he was flying all over the country and not coming back for 3 or 4 days. It was clear that he was becoming more and more indifferent to the treatment that had no end in sight, focusing more on his work. He started to show less consideration for me, who couldn't conceive, and started to talk more about his work. While I felt lonely, I tried to understand his busyness. But no matter how much I understood, our feelings did not come closer together. Yesterday I had a meeting with a client, and it seems that a new project is about to start. I think I will be staying overnight for a while from next week. My husband told me this as he took out dirty clothes from a large suitcase. I just came home a while ago, but I hurriedly started the washing machine. Alex doesn't do laundry, doesn't take his clothes to the cleaners, and ends up buying new shirts. He says this way he won't fail and it's faster, but I want to save money where I can. What about the hospital? That's impossible. I have to go directly, right? I can't leave work and I need a break next week. I sighed quietly so my husband couldn't hear. I had made a reservation at the hospital, but there was nothing I could do if he said he was on a business trip. I didn't want to cause trouble for my husband's company, and I was happy that his work was being appreciated. I didn't want to get in the way. But I'm also busy and it's tough. You are also going out for a shoot, right? Let's both do our best at work. Yes, Alex, take care of yourself too. I swallowed my words even though I was casually refused. Maybe Alex doesn't want children anymore. But I was too afraid to ask if that was the case. Should I accept this silently, or should I bring it up indirectly? My indecision was messing with my mind. I was good at conveying people's joy and sorrow through my camera. But now, I spend my days without noticing my own feelings. I felt like I was slowly being trapped inside the frame of a photograph. One day, I received a letter with a famous resort company's logo on a nice white envelope. It didn't seem like just a direct mail, so I hurriedly opened the envelope. Inside was a voucher for a luxurious hotel by the sea. And it seemed to be worth an amount for 3 people. I wondered why this was sent to me, and I felt a fluttering in my chest and immediately went to my husband. Alex, this came, do you know anything about it? Of course, I was not accusing or suspecting him. I was careful to ask naturally without sounding sharp. Alex stopped reading the newspaper and looked at me. He was expressionless, but he slightly narrowed his eyes and glared at me. I had never been looked at like that before, so I couldn't hide the sinking feeling in my chest. Oh, that. A colleague couldn't make it, so I made the reservation instead, and it was delivered here. It's nothing strange, so give it back quickly. He reached out his hand. Without saying anything, I handed over the envelope and voucher, and Alex quickly snatched it. However, when he looked at the addressee, he clearly looked uncomfortable and looked back at me. This is addressed to me, right? Don't open it without permission. I was taken aback and hurriedly apologized. However, my husband, who works in sales, often receives various direct mails as a greeting. I was surprised that he was upset because I had been casually disposing of the ones that came to the house. I'm sorry, I didn't know if it was a direct mail, so I just checked. I'm here today, so you could have asked, right? Alex took the envelope to his room, and I couldn't inquire any further about the ticket. I was a little unconvinced about why he needed to book a ticket for his colleague, but I had no choice but to accept Alex's explanation. However, less than half a month later, another incident occurred. It was April, just before the long weekend. There was a memorial service scheduled at my in-laws' house, but suddenly Alex said he had to go on a long business trip. I was initially at a loss for words. A business trip? During the long weekend? In my line of work, I often get requests from families for landscape photos. But I had already taken time off for the memorial service. Not just for freelancers, but generally, companies are supposed to be off during the long weekends. At least, Alex's company usually is. Alex shrugged his shoulders lightly and made a forced smile. It just came up all of a sudden. I have to work on my day off. Can't be helped, right? So, could you attend the memorial service in my place? I knew he took pride in his work and was seriously committed to his career even before we got married, but there were increasing moments when work or business trips felt like a thorn in my side. In the end, he packed his favorite suitcase and left for work. My in-laws were informed at the last minute, and although they were angry with his attitude, they were considerate enough not to make me feel uncomfortable. I'm sorry we made plans and he couldn't make it. I'll give Alex a piece of my mind next time I see him, my mother-in-law said. But all I could do was force a smile. We were supposed to stay for a few days after the memorial service. Alex is the only child of my in-laws, and they would be lonely if we left right away, so I ended up staying with them until after the long weekend as originally planned. I took photos of my in-laws' daily lives and scenes I usually wouldn't, with the camera I brought. I killed time by planning photo shoots, but deep down I felt the absence of Alex, who was supposed to be there. To change my mood and for work, I decided to go to the beach one station away. Everywhere you looked, families were enjoying their outings. People were also enjoying walks and sunbathing under colorful beach parasols. I walked along the beach with my camera. Suddenly, I spotted a family building a sandcastle. I stopped in my tracks when I heard a familiar voice. I was glad I wasn't holding my camera, as I would have surely dropped it at the sight before me. In the circle was Alex, building a sandcastle with a young woman and a toddler. They looked like a close-knit family, gathering white sand and seashells, and I couldn't believe my eyes. But the hotel vouchers that arrived at our house, the frequency of his sudden long business trips, his indifference, everything piled up like sand in front of me. If this was a commissioned work, it would be an ideal family scene worth capturing multiple times. Even though my husband was right there, I couldn't believe it. The child there must have been a 2 or 3-year-old girl. It closely resembled the time when I started feeling Alex drifting away. My husband already had another family. I don't know if it was my intuition as a wife, but I realized that there was a blood connection between that little girl and my husband. The glass frame in my heart shattered mercilessly. The photo that was supposed to be displayed in that frame was filled with happy smiles of us as a couple. I made up my mind and approached the woman. Not Alex, who was playing with the toddler. The woman, wearing a large straw hat, looked surprised at my sudden approach. Somehow, I managed to smile and apologized for speaking to her out of the blue. Then, I handed her my business card and told her I was a freelance photographer. Only my professional name is listed on the card, but my contact information on social media is also there. She seemed interested in the card and began to search for me on her smartphone. On the other side, Alex, who had definitely noticed me, was staring at a point on the sandy beach as if frozen. "If you don't mind, could I take a photo of your family? I sometimes do live broadcasts where I share photography tips." "Wow, you're Monica. I follow you. You post tips on smartphone photography, right?" Unaware of my relationship with Alex, she was delighted to be approached by a minor celebrity on social media. It was surprising that she was a follower, but she seemed enthusiastic, not only about the photo shoot but also about the live broadcast. I boldly invited her, and even before I could finish my sentence, she excitedly agreed. I felt guilty for deceiving her, but my goal was to somehow document Alex's other family. "Can you teach us some photography tips for moms?" "Alex too." "I'm good," said Alex, clearly in a panic. He was obviously trying hard not to look at me and thinking desperately for an excuse. "No, maybe we shouldn't. Like showing faces." "But I do model for pamphlets." "Oh, can we make sure not to show the kid?" I later found out that the woman he was cheating with was a model named Nancy, whom he met through his company's public relations. Of course, I agreed and adjusted my smartphone camera so that the child wouldn't be in the frame. I prepared the environment for immediate streaming and started the live broadcast as if I were teaching other mothers. Since the child wasn't on screen, Alex was the center of attention. His strange smile was interpreted positively by the viewers, and soon comments about the cute, nervous dad started to spread. After ending the live broadcast, I thanked him and left the scene. However, within a few minutes, Alex chased me down and stopped me. He left Nancy and the child behind. I asked him, "What are you trying to do?" but he remained silent, seemingly sulking. Probably feeling awkward with Nancy, he decided to escape to me. I wonder what he was planning to do by stopping me. Finally, he opened his mouth heavily. "Please understand." He didn't explain anything. What does he expect me to understand? "Well, I can see it, though. It couldn't be helped, right? I had a child with her before you and I had one. It's okay, Nancy's family is rich, and she says we don't need to get married." Alex, becoming defiant, finally confessed the truth. It's hard to believe that a young woman who got pregnant would say something so convenient. Probably, Nancy realized that he was already married. "I really wanted kids, you know. But you can't have them. Nancy is straightforward and a good girl, and the child looks so much like Nancy, she's incredibly cute. But it's not that I started to dislike you or didn't want to live together anymore," Alex rambled incoherently, leaving me with no choice but to hold my aching head. Apparently, he is insisting on continuing life as it is now. "I won't cause you any trouble. This situation is perfect for me. Isn't it fine like this?" I should have argued that it's not fine at all. However, I felt so suffocated that I couldn't speak. In front of my silence, he seemed to feel as if he had persuaded me, and with a somewhat triumphant sigh, he tried to leave. But then, unexpectedly, 2 people rushed over. It was my in-laws. "What's going on? Who is that woman and child?" My father-in-law, his face red with anger, shouted. Alex flinched and was surprised by the sudden appearance of his parents. "Why?" "We saw it on the live broadcast notification. Who said you were on a long business trip? You didn't even come home, and now there's an unknown woman and child." My mother-in-law stepped in between us to protect me, and scolded Alex fiercely. I was also surprised. They had seen the live broadcast on social media, and realized that something serious was happening. They were shocked to see Alex, who appeared to be a couple with an unknown woman, and hurriedly drove over. Being questioned by his parents, he had no choice but to confess everything about his relationship with Nancy and the child. He received a strong slap from his mother, who called him a disgraceful son. My father-in-law glared at my husband with such a terrifying expression that I thought he might have punched him with his fist if my mother-in-law hadn't slapped him. My in-laws took me away, leaving Alex behind. Later, with their apologies and strong encouragement, I decided to get a divorce. Alex and his mistress, Nancy, had a thorough discussion about their affair, and I received compensation for the emotional damage caused by them, which seemed to settle the matter temporarily. However, as I hired a lawyer and started divorce proceedings, various facts came to light. First, Nancy was fully aware that Alex was married. The fact that she got pregnant, was understanding, and even said it was not necessary to get married, indicates that she was somewhat prepared to be in a relationship with a married man. She probably didn't bring up any issues not only because of money but also because she wanted to keep him as long as possible. On the other hand, she seemed genuinely unaware that I was the other person involved. When she found out that I was the one she had been following on social media, she was outraged and blocked me on all my accounts. Not only that, but she also started defensively posting on various message boards, which ironically only made it public that she was the mistress, causing me to receive an outpour of sympathy. She apparently also caused trouble at her parents' house because of the child she had with a married man. Being kicked out and almost losing her home, she audaciously thought about moving into my in-laws' house. Which, of course, they firmly refused. Next, more secrets about Alex started to surface. As I continued the investigation for the compensation claim, it turned out that there were countless women around him. In fact, he had been having affairs every time he went on a business trip, and there were multiple mistresses with whom he had relations several times. Some of these mistresses were found to be engaged or married. I decided to send the data of the live stream in question. A little investigation would reveal that I, the legal wife, was the one broadcasting, and the people shown were Alex's mistress and their child. As a result, the women who were deceived into thinking he was single and the husbands who had their wives stolen were enraged and stormed Alex's place. He faced lawsuits from all directions, including me, and had no choice but to accept them all. As more and more new facts came to light, Nancy unexpectedly took the child and ran away. She probably chose to escape from her relationship with Alex out of disgust. The uproar Nancy caused on social media eventually died down, and her account disappeared, so I decided to let her go. However, considering her character, which proudly posted about the affair on social media, it was unlikely that she would just disappear after deleting her account. As expected, Nancy started using a completely different account. However, she kept posting as if she were the victim of a tragedy, which led to her being easily identified and receiving backlash. After that, whenever things got tough, she would delete her account and create another one, reviving herself like a phoenix. Even Nancy abandoned Alex, who, in the end, seemed to have planned to rely on my parents-in-law. However, when they found out that he had multiple mistresses, they were even more furious. Without apologizing to anyone, he just clung to them for help out of desperation, which led my in-laws to make the decision to cut ties with their son. After the affair scandal, my husband was left with a considerable amount of compensation to pay. As legal proceedings progressed, inquiries from the mistresses and their husbands started flooding the company, complicating the situation even further. Moreover, this was not the worst outcome. The unprecedented scandal of exposing the child with the mistress on social media spread rapidly during a business trip. And the reviews of the company-related facilities were filled with comments of shock and anger. The loss of trust due to the backlash spread both internally and externally, prompting the management to urgently implement countermeasures. However, since they were not familiar with handling online backlash, they were forced to hastily consult with experts and create a communication strategy. On the other hand, they were also working hard to provide accurate information to the employees and bring an end to the confusion. In the wake of this online scandal, a lot of inquiries and criticisms came from both inside and outside the company, and Alex's reputation plummeted rapidly. He became someone to be avoided at work, completely isolated within the company. In the uncomfortable atmosphere, the company quickly wished for his resignation, and Alex had to look for a new job. Technically, he was always able to do his job without any problems, and he had a good track record in sales. He was liked by the older generation who do not use social media, and he was quickly blessed with a new job. However, a person's basic nature does not change. Within half a year, he seems to have caused one trouble after another, such as making a pass at the director's wife or trying to expense the cost of a hotel he used on a business trip. He got fired, joined a new place, caused chaos in relationships there, got fired again, and now he seems to be in a loop of getting kicked out everywhere and moving from one church to another. On the other hand, even after the divorce, I still have a relationship with my ex-in-laws. They were always considerate, which has allowed me to live a peaceful life. The fact that I could end my relationship with Alex and start anew is all thanks to the support of my former in-laws. After the divorce, for a while, I found it painful to even take pictures of children. Although my ex-in-laws must have felt betrayed and hurt by their son, they made a conscious effort to show a harmonious front and support me. They made a lot of effort to help me believe once again that my relationship with Alex was not everything about our marriage. One day, I took a photo of my ex-in-laws having a calm conversation. I plan to make this photo the main feature of my upcoming online exhibition. They were quite embarrassed, but I think they will be happy in the end.